Hello, dober dan. Unfortunately, I cannot say more in Slovenian yet. Maybe next time I will get better. So thank you very much for the introduction. And I would like to go straight away to the topic, as there is much to talk about. I just want to say it's a privilege for me to be here in Slovenia, in the country so much important for our company, Knauf Insulation, with a Škofja Loka plant, with long traditions, with first experience center in Knauf Insulation, first pilot project for levels driven by the European Commission. I'm happy to be here with you today. So, what's in the Green Deal, the flagship European Commission program, political priority to make Europe climate neutral in 2050 for buildings? I will talk about it in a while. Just a couple of words about Knauf Group. Knauf Insulation is the part of Knauf Group, which is a family company. It's very important because it means we are business agile. We have a strong culture in entrepreneurship. And regarding our presence, we are in all the countries you can see on the map, including indeed Slovenia. At the moment in Europe, 16 manufacturing plants, including Škofja Loka. It's the second business in the group. And our business we consider being sustainability. All these aspects that you can see on the slide are important for the future built environment. And I can tell you they will be key for the Green Deal. And how do we contribute? We contribute with our products and solutions. You can go to the stand downstairs where my colleagues can tell you more about that. And we believe that we provide the right solution for the right application because we understand that there are different building traditions, there are different climates across the world. Now, why renovating buildings? I'm talking about this because this will be very important for the Green Deal. And in September, European Commission is going to publish a strategy for building renovation. For the very first time, such a strong focus on renovating buildings. Of course, we have European directives, we have some building codes that are driven by that. But now we know that buildings are in a very strong focus. And why? Well, for making Europe climate neutral, it's key. Buildings represent 40% of any energy consumption, 36% of CO2 emissions, and unfortunately, even more than 75% are inefficient. It's not only about climate, it's not only about environment, it's also a strong social and economic case. We can quantify that. According to the European Commission, for every 1% of extra energy savings, by 2030, we can reduce gas imports in the European Union by 4%. We can decrease greenhouse gas emissions, and, very important, we can increase employment by 336,000 jobs. So this is also good news for society. Yeah? And we know it's a very interesting business case. According to Euroconstruct, already EU renovation market size is estimated for over 680 billion per year, but the potential total size might reach even 900 billion a year. And you can see that as of 2009, we can see an interesting trend when renovation of buildings spending is already outpacing the construction of new build. So, lots of opportunities for business like us, of course, but not only. Energy savings is about reducing energy, reducing waste, using energy smartly. So I'm sure that many of you here are involved in this business one way or another. So the business, the potential is huge, and the needs are really enormous. To reach the current climate energy target by 2030, even without calculating the needs for climate neutral 2050, half of the needs, 130 billion additional annual investments, would need to come from housing sector on its own. So this is why we know the challenge is huge. And this is why the European Commission came up with the Green Deal, and all the highlighted columns, areas, will be important for buildings. I won't go into details of all of that, but you can already see it's about climate action, about climate neutrality announced 2 days ago. It's about a circular economy action plan to be announced on the 10th of March. It's about biodiversity, making cities, urban areas greener, installing urban green infrastructure, green walls, green roofs, to improve stormwater management, to adapt to climate change. We can reduce the risk of climate change only, but we have to also adapt to the changes that are happening anyway. It's also about smart sector integration. We are part of the system. Buildings are key to move to more flexible and smart and renewable energy system. And it's about finance, a very, very important part. I will talk about it in a moment. So, first of all, what Mrs. von der Leyen, the European Commission, said, we need to at least double our renovation rates if we want to be climate neutral in 2050. And it's also about public and private buildings. Half of the efforts to be climate neutral need to come from energy efficiency. And now, about money. So, there is a big program for mobilizing private and public money for Green Deal, and buildings are part of that. All in all, we're talking about €1 trillion. It's of course a huge number. From EU budget, historically highest share would go to climate action, 25%. It will be complemented by the funds from the European Emission Trading Scheme. European Investment Bank will play the more important role than before, working with public authorities, leveraging money for them, making loans more affordable for public authorities, and that will be, of course, need to be backed by national co-financing. What is important is that the Commission is planning a series of actions to make this possible, so-called enablers. They will work on state aid regulation to make them more flexible for renovation programs. It's really important to get engaged in this discussion, to remove the remaining barriers that exist in the market. We know of them. It's about common language for sustainable finance, what a sustainable investment is, what does it mean to invest in a sustainable project, how to start a standard for green bonds in Europe. It's about making public procurement more adapting to green criteria and targets. And it's about defining energy efficiency first. Let's consider, before investing in new energy supply infrastructures, how we can reduce demand in a smart way. So let's invest thinking of the future, future-proof investments. And it's about helping local administrations and national and ministries in their sustainable investment strategies. And technical assistance, this is very much linked to the recent project of Just Transition Fund and mechanism how to help regions that have to adapt the most. They have to make a lot of effort to move from coal economy, from energy-intensive industry, how to reskill workers. I know that this is also one of the topics of today. So Just Transition territorial plans will be important for that. Just another important topic that was raised by my predecessors today is also how to mainstream sustainability. Buildings are also responsible for 1/3 of water consumption. They generate 1/3 of waste. They need to become more sustainable. And European Commission project levels is about a framework. Today it's voluntary, but it might become a fundament for future legislation. In some countries, the legislation is already incorporating some of these topics and indicators. We are very much involved as a company, as I mentioned before, in Szkofia Loka. The first levels pilot project happened in our experience center. My colleague Barbara can explain more about that. We are very proud of this, and we continue working, supporting this framework. So my recommendations, having said all of this to you, would be, so think efficiency first. We need to boost energy renovation together. We need to cooperate. It's only with partnerships combining different sources of knowledge, finance, that we can move to this climate-neutral building stock. We need to mainstream building sustainability. We need to make buildings future-proof. And quality is also competences, one of the topics here. We believe that with digitization, with possibilities to measure performance, we can attract not only private financing to renovation, but also we can push the market to demand quality and skills that will follow. So this is our recipe for good quality. Thank you very much for your attention. Thanks.